The current medical system as it exists today is one that's controlled by the pharmaceutical industry. For something to be a medicine, it has to be a patented drug. By definition, nutrition is not medicine to them. And so that's point number one. Point number two is there's no money in nutrition. And when you're looking at an industry driven by dollars, everybody's got to make a living. I get it. Pharmaceutical companies are in business to make as much money as possible for shareholders. They're not funding research studies to test nutritional interventions against cancer. They don't care about nutritional interventions against cancer. If they're funding anything on a natural compound, it's to try to create a synthetic, patentable extract of that compound, like turmeric, for example, that they can develop into a drug, right? So yes, they study plant compounds all the time, but they want to make them into a patentable drug. The big deception of science-based medicine or evidence-based medicine is that it is based on all of the evidence, but it's not. It's only based on science and evidence that lead to patented billion-dollar drugs. That is how the industry has been built. I went to a gastroenterologist. He did a colonoscopy. And when I woke up after that procedure, he comes in, he said, look, you've got a golf ball sized tumor in your colon. He said, look, you've got this tumor and it might be cancerous. We took a biopsy. We were going to send it to the lab and see if it's cancer or not. A day or so later, I got a call and they said, listen, it is colon cancer. We go back to see the oncologist and he gives me the boilerplate pitch. He's like, got my file open. Look, 26 years old. You have stage 3C colon cancer. It's very aggressive in young adults. You're going to need chemotherapy, 5-FU plus leucovorin, and you've got about a 60% chance of living 5 years with treatment. Now, I didn't know anything back then. And had I known things, I would have asked a lot more questions. But I asked a couple questions and that shifted the tone of the conversation, and it ended up going in a direction that I did not expect at all. So the first thing I said was, what about the raw food diet? Because I'd been on it for 1 week. And he said, no, you can't do that. It'll fight the chemo. I didn't ask him why. I learned later that they were afraid that raw food is dangerous when taking chemotherapy because chemotherapy decimates your immune system to become very vulnerable to otherwise harmless bacteria on an apple. The other thing he said to me that I thought was weird, that changed the conversation, is I said, well, are there any alternative therapies available? And he said, no, there are none. If you don't do chemotherapy, you're insane. And from there, the conversation just turned into him berating me with reasons I had to do chemo. And the main one was, if you don't do it, you're going to die. He's talking down to me. He's telling me all these reasons I got to do chemo. And I wasn't even hearing what he was saying. I just wanted to run out of there. But one thing he said that jumped out was, he said, look, I'm not telling you this because I need your business. Which was like, wait, what? I was in sales and they taught me a technique in sales called the push away. And this guy just did the push away on me. Wait, what? What does business have to do with it? I didn't even think about business. I thought this was like healthcare. I wasn't thinking about it like a business. It's a huge part. And most of us view the medical industry as this sort of altruistic profession of selfless angels. And there's a lot of wonderful people in there, but it's a screwed up industry that screws up people in it. The point is everyone is conformed. It's like going to the military. You have to conform and become this thing that we make you into. And they jam medical students and doctors like into this box of conformity. But the interesting and kind of crazy thing is that the medical profession has the highest rate of suicide of any profession because it's so mentally, emotionally, and physically difficult to be a doctor. My appointment with the oncologist concluded, and I got up and walked straight out of that office into the lobby to the desk like a robot and made an appointment to get a port put in to start chemo. I had just been programmed, like manipulated with fear. And my wife and I walked out to her car, sat in her car and just held hands and cried. And I choked out a prayer, and it was just, my faith was shattered. My confidence was gone. I was just terrified. And the reality is that cancer clinics, many of them are fear factories. There's so much fear in there, and they use fear to manipulate people to say yes to treatment. And cancer patients, more often than not, are making fear-based decisions, not fact-based decisions, and not faith-based decisions. They're just making a decision out of fear, which is, I don't want to die. I'll do whatever you say. A lot of cancer patients, they have got them in chemo within a day or two, right? Because they've flip-flopped. Now they like to do chemo before surgery. Patients are just rushed in, man. They don't know what's happening to them. No idea.